Hi, welcome into Allie's Space to Craft, and today I'm taking care of another one of the page kits that I had left over from my vacation. This is from Kiss. It's actually a completed, almost completed 2-page layout, just without any pictures. The kit even came with papers to mat, and it had a suggested layout for the photos, but of course I have more photos than the suggestion. So I'm going to try and fit all of these photos. So there's these two little 2.5 by 2.5 squares up at the top. So I had these two pictures where my daughter was really small in the picture. So I'm able to trim those down to 2.25 by 2.25. I'm not going to double mat them. But that's where I'm starting because that was my easiest decision. And then I'm going to trim the other photos down to something reasonable so that things aren't quite as crowded on the page. So I'm happy with that. And then I just look at the other photos and try and figure out sort of where I want them and trim off the easy parts like sand at the bottom and just try and center things a little bit. I wanted to keep that little bit of darker at the top. And then this one we're going to trim down a bit while still keeping all the variations in the water and the sky and stuff. Just because I like seeing those depths of color. Now that sand picture has my daughter's name on it, and I really did want to include that on the page, so I will make a plan for that. So just trimming everything up, and then I'll try and figure out placement. And then the next step is really just to mat it. Now I do end up trimming a little bit more of this one a little bit later. But that's her playing on the sand. Sorry about that little glare on that photo. So I'm able to tuck some things in, at least at this point. And then I'm happy with that. I probably could have, in retrospect, put those two pictures at the bottom not squared. I may go back and tilt those a little bit after because the ones in the top right corner are tilted. I think that might look good and a little more natural, and there's so much that's tilted, you know, the title is a little bit askew as well. So I'm just using some white cardstock. This is some 8.5 by 11 thinner cardstock than my Neenah 110 pound. It's a little easier to deal with. So I'm just matting almost all the photos in white, and then I will just double mat them. And I have that dark turquoise and then that lighter blue with circles on it for my mats. This one I had cut not quite straight, so I'm just straightening that one out. I do fuss around a little bit trying to get these squared up. That's what happens when you're not actually measuring and you're just winging it. So I spent a total of 38 minutes on this page, which seems like a lot, but there was just a lot of trimming and cutting. So for you guys, it's just over 10 minutes. So just trying to fit everything in here. And that's where I trimmed that down a little bit because I didn't need all the junk on the Chaise Lounge. So we're going to try and make this work. And that's going to help it fit, honestly, on the page better too. Trimming a tiny bit more off this one so that I can fit it all on this one page. It's not like I don't have enough, but it's nice to minimize your scraps and not cut into fresh sheets of paper if you don't have to. And sometimes, honestly, cutting things down to smaller photos makes it easier to use them as well and gives you a little bit more breathing space on the page. Not that I have a lot of breathing space on this page. It's pretty busy. But I really am pleased with the way it came out. And I really didn't, I think the white cardstock is my addition. And I bring out one brad at the end, that's my addition. And I cut a tag toward the end, you'll see. And that's it. Everything else was in the kit, which is pretty awesome. And I had very few scraps left over, just a few of these light blue scraps. And some turquoise scraps, which will just go into my scrap bin and get used on for other embellishments or things like that. So here I'm trying to position it so that the edge is under the leaf. The edge of that one, this picture is under the leaf. And then there's also a couple sort of making out in the water, and I would like to cover them up. So I'm covering them up with the other picture. So that's where that's going to sit. I decide not to double matte this one. I'm not sure why, but I just decided not to. I decided we would go straight to the turquoise. And at this point I'm thinking, oh, I don't hate that orange ribbon on there, but it's kind of close to the other orange ribbon, so I do change my mind in the end on this. So here I am just trimming things up, getting everything double matted, and one of them I think I even choose to triple matte. And that's the one of She and I, since it's kind of a special one, just because I'm in so few pictures. So I'm going to double matte that one. And you can see all I have left is that little square of that light blue, and I'm going to make use of it. So I went ahead and kept all of this in there just because I knew the video wouldn't be terribly long, but you can see sort of my method when I'm matting things and using essentially scraps for a lot of stuff. None of this were full sheets of paper except that one white 8.5 by 11. So this I'm thinking about, and I'm happy with that, and I have this one piece of paper left, and I decide let's get a little more of it on the page because it's just very thin mats at this point, and it's on the title, so I wanted to get a little bit more on the other page. So I'm going to go off and cut a tag. My tag maker, the one I'm going to use, is 2.5 inches is the widest that I can do. And then I'm going to take that ribbon and use it on with the tag instead. So there's my tag, and I'm just tucking it in. I can choose to go back and write on it. I don't know that there's a lot you need to say, except that we were on the beach and she really enjoyed playing on the beach and posing for pictures. So I cut that orange ribbon in half, and that way it gets a little more separation from the orange ribbon on the flower. And then I have another piece that I'm going to add over by the title. And that way I have that in 3 places on the page, and that feels a little more balanced. Here I was playing around with the photos, trying to decide if I wanted to move things around at all. I decided against that just because of the direction that she's looking in that one photo. So I'm just looking for a brad at this point, and I tie that ribbon and add a glue dot and stick it over there. So now I will have 3 pieces of that ribbon, and I pull out a little green brad from my stash. And I did need to hole punch it a little to get it in there. Which I guess I did off camera. I could have edited this a little. There we go. So, and it's the perfect green for it. So I'm pleased with that. And then I realized all the other original pieces that I had put down had brown ink. So I pull out one of my Distress inks. This one is tea dye, but I have some darker brown already on my dauber, so I haven't even had to use it yet. And I'm just going to ink up all of the mats and that tag, just so everything's more cohesive, since everything else was inked, including the flowers. We even inked the edges of the flowers. So I'm really pleased with that. And I like the little addition of the tag. Here I'm having to go back and sort of lift up so I can do the double mats. And at this point, it's just committing and adhering everything down. I'm trimming up that ribbon a little bit because it was sticking out a little bit too far. I was able to tuck that sand picture under the flowers and not obscure her name, so I was happy with that. And then add another glue dot to the back of the ribbon to sort of hold that in place so it's not quite so floppy. And that's it. Let's do some close-ups. So this is a really intricate page. I don't usually make pages this intricate, but it sure is fun to have some like this when you get a page kit. And it's sometimes, you know, a lot fancier than I would do on my own. So I find a few places where I haven't adhered things down quite well enough. So there's the tag, and I realize I didn't stick down those pictures and they went a little bit askew, and I'm like, oh, I really like that. So instead of putting them evenly, I'm going to make them a little cattywampus, and I really like the look of that. So that's the tie-in. That I think the last thing I might do is angle those pictures on the left hand page too. So please give this video a thumbs up and come back for more content.